Hello everybody. As I said yesterday in the video, I got some cigars in and I was going to review some more. And as such, I've got another cigar today, a proper size cigar, a full size stick for us to review. I'm not going to smoke the whole thing like I did yesterday. I'm just going to be smoking probably just the first third, maybe even just the first half of a third, just to let you know what the flavour profile is like. And that's pretty much it. So this is the Flor de Copan. I'll show you the stick there. Flor de Copan. It is a Puros, a Honduran Puros, which means it is 100% Honduran tobacco, which means the filler, the binder, and the wrapper all from Honduras. It has a sun-grown wrapper, as you can see. It's a Corona, so it's 5.5 by 42, I believe. These cost me, it was relatively cheap, I think they're around €6 a piece. They're a really nice looking cigar, like a really good looking cigar. Smell wise, they smell good. Kind of just classic sun-grown tobacco on the smell. And so I'm hoping it's going to be a really nice, flavourful smoke. Shouldn't take me long, probably about 1 hour and 10 minutes for me personally to smoke this, maybe even a bit quicker. But yeah, we're going to get straight into it. I still can't find my cutter from yesterday, so we're going to use the punch that I used yesterday, if it's a bit better. I did smoke another cigar yesterday that I bought, the Man of War, Connecticut. I've got another one of them. You might see a review, you might not. It is entirely dependent on whether or not I want to smoke it at home or out. Ooh, wrong way. There we are. Let's see what the draw's like. Really good quality draw, as you would probably expect, but it is a really nice quality draw, really good high quality draw. Drinking some wine. If you're curious, I'm drinking this Malbec, Argentinian Malbec. It's unoaked. It's a really nice bottle. I opened this yesterday. I only had like a glass and a half yesterday night, so I thought, why not crack it open, have a bit of wine with my cigar, because I don't do that very often. Got a lighter on hand today, no messing around from us, and we're going to toast the foot, light it, get those first flavours, and then see how it progresses, see how it goes. Turn that down a bit actually, fuck it no. Fiddling about with the lighter, I should have figured this out beforehand. There we go. This happened yesterday with me lighter. It just didn't have any gap. I'll be 1 second. I've hopefully cut that out. If I've not, then you've just been staring at a blank wall for 15 seconds. There we are, right. Get this toasted up. You know, the idea behind toasting a cigar, for those who don't know, is that if you go straight in with the flame and try and light it, like put it in your mouth and then try and light it like that, what happens, like you had a cigarette, what happens is you get an uneven burn all the time, which you don't want. Whereas, if you do what I've done there, toasted the foot, and to be fair, normally my lighter will be less aggressive than that. You toast it up, and you get it all lit, all the tobacco lit to some degree, at least heated up, and then you go at it with the flame, draw in, giving oxygen to the flame. It lights the tobacco in full. Let's give this a first proper draw, and I'll give you my thoughts. So, immediately, it's good cigar, really nice cigar. Doesn't jump out at me with like a load of interesting new flavour. What it is giving me is good flavour, decent flavour, and I can't really complain. There's a nice kick, a nice bit of spicy kick to the cigar, like a black pepper kick to the tobacco, kind of a tingle on your tongue, on the back of your throat, which you expect with a sun-grown wrapper, this more medium-bodied. I'd honestly say this is a medium to full. The Laura Chauvin, still here, that I smoked yesterday, that was a light cigar. Not even light to medium, light cigar. The Man of War that I smoked yesterday was a light cigar. This is a medium to full. There is definitely a spice there. There is a much heavier wood note, something more akin to an oakiness rather than a cedar wood. There is, like, cedar wood is there, but is a much deeper, richer wood at the same time. And you get that spiciness from the retrohale. For a Honduran cigar, it is interesting because a lot of the time, Nicaraguan cigars will have that kick, and you'd be looking to stuff like darker Cubans or some darker Dominican cigars. Cigars I take, not really Honduras cigars. I find Honduras cigars are quite grassy, quite floral, quite earthy, not necessarily very rich, very spicy. And so this is a flavour profile that I've not experienced from a Honduran cigar, but that might be because this is, as I said, a Puros. Now, when it comes to the cigar world, there are two types of there are kind of two classifications. You have a Puros, where all of the tobacco comes from that one country, sometimes that one region, sometimes that one plantation, that one tobacco plantation, where, let's say you had, for example, the Flor de Copan plantation in Honduras. Maybe all of the tobacco from this cigar, and I can probably have a quick check and see what it says online about Flor de Copan. You could say that all the tobacco came from that plantation. The issue in the cigar world, outside of Cuba, really, is there isn't lots and lots of regulation in Nicaragua, Honduras, and the Dominican Republic over labelling. In the alcohol world, in whiskey, for example, in the major whiskey producing countries, America and Scotland and Ireland, there are strict definitions on what you can call certain types of whiskey. In wine, I know across Europe and in America, there are strict definitions on what you can call certain things. You know, on what, especially in France, a lot of restrictions on what certain things can be called. With cigars, it's not like that. Yes, there are restrictions on stuff like what you can sell, what you can buy, stuff like that. There isn't really anything about labelling, how stuff is labelled. Let me see, I am on. So it says here that the tobacco is grown in the Santa Rosa de Copan region in Honduras, near the borders of Guatemala and El Salvador. Handmade, long filler expected. Yeah, so all of it, apparently, so the binder, the filler, and the wrapper are all from the Santa Rosa de Copan plantation in Honduras. It's good to know. That's really good to know. And I'm just looking here on this website, it's €160, €159 for a box of 20. So yeah, you're looking at what, €8 a cigar there. About £7, £6.50. And I think for the quality of tobacco that you get in this, that's worth the money. 100%. 100% that's worth the money. Construction wise, I might need to top it up, but I have been talking, I haven't been smoking as much. You can see construction wise that you've got kind of, it looks fine for now. There's no like major channeling, there's no major like it's going down one side more than the other too much. The ash is nice and white, a little bit darker, a little bit greyer, a little bit ashier looking. Sounds weird to say, but it is then the Laura Sharon cigar yesterday, but that was a really high quality cigar. This is a cheaper cigar in the relatively, but it's still a really good quality cigar. It's long filler, which is, I had someone actually ask me yesterday what is long filler, and it is when you roll a cigar, you have three parts. You have the filler, you have the binder, and you have the wrapper. Now the filler is all the tobacco inside, the main portion of the cigar, the main bulk of the cigar. Wrapped around that filler is the binder. Now the binder's job is, as the name suggests, to bind the filler together. Keeps the filler in a one cylindrical, sometimes, pyramid shaped, depending on the cigar you have, one tube, keeps it together. The wrapper then goes on the outside of the cigar. The wrapper leaf is a tobacco leaf, and it is the leaf that looks the best normally. Different cigar companies have different ways to quality test this stuff. I know Davidoff, for example, all of the leaves in a box, all the wrapper leaves have to look like very similar to each other on the Davidoff cigars, otherwise those boxes get rejected. Whereas I imagine with a company like Flor de Copan, you're probably going to get some variation in the leaf, but I will say the wrapper leaf, it looks really nice. There's no major big bulging veins which you want. It's relatively smooth. The vein, the normal tobacco veins across it look nice. It's really good quality. It looks like a higher quality cigar. It looks like you paid more for this than I actually have. Someone who knows cigars, it looks like a higher quality cigar than perhaps something that's a bit rougher. Those spicy notes are picking up. There's a leathery note, toasted wood, leather, black pepper spice. Not really any creaminess, any floral notes, any grassy notes, any what I would consider traditional Honduran flavours in this cigar, and that might be the tobacco they're using, and it might be because they're using all Honduran tobacco, but it is really, really nice. It really is. But yeah, the wrapper, the nicest leaf. Now when you have a long filler, what that means is they've used whole leaves, and what they've done is they've cut them up a little bit so they're the correct size, because obviously not all tobacco leaves are going to be like the exact same size that you need. So they'll cut the leaf, maybe cut a bit off, just make it a smaller leaf, but it is still a whole leaf. And they will roll that with a bunch of other leaves tight together into a bundle, and then they will wrap a binder around that, and then the binder leaf, and then that is then held kind of in like, if you look at cigar making online, what they tend to do is they'll get the leaves, they'll cut, they'll wrap, then they'll wrap the binder around, and then they'll put them in these little wooden kind of holders that kind of keep them together. Then they'll get a wrapper leaf, lay it down, put the binder in it, put the binder in the wrapper leaf, wrap it, and then they'll get a little cut of the tobacco. So you see on the end there where I've put the punch in, you can kind of see there's this cap here, right, of tobacco. That is a separate piece of tobacco that is then stuck onto the top using vegetable glue or some sort of food safe glue, just to keep the tobacco, just to cover the top. That's the reason it's done. Now I can see, if we go back to the cigar for a minute, we're getting a bit of channeling there. Not on that side. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to touch this up, something you have to do sometimes with a cigar. Get my lighter, start bringing it closer until the flames start appearing, as you can see. I'm just going to touch around. I'm just going to bring everything on level where this channel is. So all we're doing is bringing everything to the level that the channel is. And that is fine. And then we'll keep smoking. It is nice. It is nice. It is a good cigar. Whereas a short filler cigar or a mixed filler cigar is where you'll get the tobacco leaves, you'll chop them up into little bits, little flaky bits. The same type of stuff that would go into a cigarette, for example. Not the same tobacco, it will be cigar tobacco still. It will still be higher quality tobacco, and it won't be treated with 900 plus chemicals like a cigarette is. It is still pure, especially with some of the more, with the hand rolled short filler cigars. You have what is generally lost chocolate tobacco that is basically then pumped into a binder and then wrapped and capped by hand, or sometimes you'll have a whole leaf that is then filled with chopped up short filler, wrapped up and then made into the cigar. That's called mixed filler, but it's still premium tobacco. It's still tobacco that has been picked from a plantation, by hand most of the time. It will then be sorted, it will then be put into bundles, it will be fermented over months. It will be aged. It will then be rolled, aged longer. It will then be either cut up or made into, or it will be given for long filler, cut up, made into a cigar, aged for longer, and shipped to you. At no point in the cigar making process, from seed to cigar, at no point are they pumping the same type of chemicals that companies like JP Morris, I feel like that's a tobacco company, Japan Tobacco International. I don't actually have any packets of cigars near me. I don't actually have any packets of cigars near me that I can check tobacco brands on. But the big tobacco companies, I'm going to have to look some up, otherwise I'm not going to... British American Tobacco, Philip Morris, not J.P. Morris. I'm thinking of J.P. Morgan. Philip Morris, British Tobacco, JTI. There's other ones, the Altria Group. I don't know them. Imperial Brands. You know, big tobacco companies. Now, what they do with their tobacco is it won't come from one plantation. It won't have a family behind it, like pretty much all of these cigar companies. When we're talking about premium hand-rolled long filler cigars like this, or even premium short filler cigars that are made by these companies in countries like the Dominican Republic, Nicaragua, Honduras. Even when we talk about them, ash fell on me, it's fine. Brush it off, not a problem. I'm wearing a smoking jacket. Even when we talk about companies like that, when we talk about companies like that, they're family run, family owned, right? And they're not massive corporations. There are some really big tobacco brands. Davidoff is a massive tobacco brand, one of the biggest in the world, right? I think outside of Cuban tobacco brands, Davidoff is the second biggest tobacco brand in the world. It's the second biggest cigar company in the world after the Cubans. I think people would recognise Davidoff the most. Davidoff cigars, the plantations that Davidoff owns have people who have ran those plantations for decades running them. Local people who know the land, who know the soil, who know the plant, who know cigar tobacco, and what to do with it. And they have people running the factories and people rolling who have worked with tobacco for generations. And so when we talk about cigar companies, pretty much all the time there are very few major big brand cigar companies that make professional hand-rolled cigars. So these family-run companies, for them, it's an art form. The tobacco plant is, firstly, if you look at the process of making tobacco, the process of planting the tobacco plant to the cigar, first you've got to find a seed varietal. There are thousands, hundreds of thousands of different tobacco seed varietals. Some of them are Cuban seeded, some of them are Nicaraguan seeded, some of them are Mexican seeded. A lot of these companies will brag Cuban seeded tobacco. It just means the seed that tobacco came originally from Cuba. It won't taste the same as Cuban tobacco because of the terroir, is that how you say it? Terroir? The terrain, the land, the soil itself. It won't taste the same. You plant these seeds, and what you have to do is what all these companies do is they first have to get a sample of all this tobacco, figure out what it's like, right? See if it can grow in the climate. Then they grow it, and they see what and then they have to put up with all the standard issues of growing, stuff in a farm in the open air. Once you've done that, you've then got to figure out, okay, is this going to taste any good? So then you've got to make cigars with it. And at first you'll make Puros. At first you'll make cigars with only maybe that one type of tobacco. But then you'll mix it with other tobaccos you've got, maybe if you have other farms or even other plots on the farm or other seed varietals, you'll mix the tobacco. And then you might go to another company just down the road, another farm, another plantation down the road, or even to a plantation in a different country. If you're in Nicaragua, maybe you go to Honduras. If you're in the Dominican Republic, maybe you go to... Sorry about that. So, where was I? Yeah, so they'll grow the tobacco, then they'll have to make the cigars, then they'll have to figure out how to blend that tobacco to make the cigar, and that might take months. I mean, from when you've planted the seed to actually having cigar tobacco, it's about 12 to 18 months, because the tobacco grows within the season. You then pick the tobacco, then you got to cure it. You got to literally hang it in a barn to dry, right? Then you've got to ferment the tobacco. You got to put it into massive bundles and roll it every so often in a month, over multiple months, to ferment the tobacco. And what that does is that removes a lot of the nicotine from the tobacco, and it opens up a lot of the flavour of the tobacco. Then you have to roll it. So you plant a seed, you find a seed that you think this is going to be good. You might have tried that seed in that country, that tobacco, where it was grown. You thought, this is going to taste good, it's going to taste different obviously, but it's going to taste similar enough. You bring it over, you grow it, you age it, you ferment it. You finally have tobacco leaves. You roll a cigar. You try it. It's not good. 18 months on one product, one cigar. Then you've got to think, okay, that didn't work. Will it work with this tobacco? Maybe I can do this with it. Can I blend the tobacco in a way where it's going to taste enjoyable, where it's going to give me the different flavours I want? It's gone out. It's gone out. Which is fine. I'll just relight it. And much like with anything that is made from, grown produce, whether we're talking about whiskey being made from barley, wine from grapes, or cigars from tobacco, it is an art form to grow and then blend the tobacco in such a way where you'll have a good product at the end of it. Then you've got to sell that product, market that product, and everything. At no point in that process is there going to be chemicals pumped into the tobacco like there is at Philip Morris, like there is at JTI, for your Benson and Hedges and for your Lambert and Butler. Even in the cheap cigars they produce, in your Hamlets, your Signatures, which will have that same chemicals in them, because the same tobacco. They use the same tobacco. They buy cheap tobacco, pump it full of chemicals, and put it into a packet and call it a cigar, when it's not. Am I saying tobacco is healthy, it's good, it doesn't harm you? No, of course not. I would never claim such a thing. It's ridiculous. What I am saying is that the cigar industry, the way cigars are made, the art form of cigar making, and the difference between cigars and cigarettes down to the production, down all the way to the production, is staggering. And these two products are treated the same. These two products, the cigarette and the cigar, are treated the same. But only in Europe, mind, only in Western countries. I don't know how. I know laws around tobacco usage, limiting tobacco usage, are a lot less developed in the Caribbean, in Central America, where it is much more common to smoke cigars. But I feel, and South America, but I feel that they would have the sense, being countries that grow this stuff, to go, okay, we're going to treat this product differently to this other product. We don't in the UK. The Americans do, because they're a cigar smoking country and have been for decades. We're not. We don't smoke cigars nearly as much as the Americans do. You know, even in Europe. Continental Europe tobacco law is better than the UK's. It's cheaper and such, a bit more open, but it is still treated one and the same. Cigars in a lot of places don't have different duty rates when they should. Cigars in many places are treated the same as cigarettes. In the UK, when they banned indoor smoking, many would argue it's a good thing. cigarettes don't smell very nice. I agree, I don't really like the smell of cigarettes. I wouldn't want people smoking cigarettes next to me in a pub, probably. Inside, I don't mind it outside, I smoke outside. But that law did not differentiate between cigars and cigarettes, which means that cigar bars, cigar lounges, very difficult to make in the UK. You can't unless you own a cigar shop, and then you can have a tasting room. But you still can't bring your own cigars and smoke them there regularly. It has to be attached onto an establishment where you'd probably buy cigars from. And then the tax on cigars, massive in the UK. A cigar like this in the UK, it's not even available in the UK market because they won't make enough money because they probably can't sell it in the UK because no one would buy it in the UK because they would charge probably about £17 for this one product when I can get it for £6 in Germany. You know, in my eyes, the laws on the laws around cigars in the UK are backwards. You know, they're not forward thinking. They don't look towards, right, some people smoke cigars. It's a small amount of the population, but it's a different product. It's a different product. We're going to treat it differently, as you would with anything else. Whiskey is treated differently to gin and vodka. They might have similar rates, but the actual laws in Scotland concerning gin and vodka are different to whiskey because not all spirits are the same. Not all tobacco is the same thing. I'm rambling a bit, I'm ranting a bit. Back to the cigar. It's nice. It's a good quality cigar. I would buy it again. I have another one. I bought 2 of these. About almost through the first construction's been a bit iffy. Yeah, leathery, spicy, decent cigar. Yeah, enjoyable. But that's the Flor de Copan Puros. Wonderful cigar. Would recommend it. I'm going to enjoy this with my wine. Watch something probably. But you all have a good day. Have a good night. Whatever you're doing, smoke a cigar.